Star is written by author Lisa Klein Ransom, and the illustrator is James Ransom, her husband. Sit back and enjoy today's book. In a tiny schoolhouse at the edge of the road in Bauru, Brazil, sat a boy with just a hint of a smile on his face. He stared straight ahead at the chalkboard as his teacher spoke, but his mind was miles away. Though he was the smallest in his class, 8-year-old Edson sat tall at his desk. While others memorized letters, Edson memorized scores from last night's soccer match. While others practiced adding and subtracting, Edson practiced kicking an imaginary soccer ball. And while others heard the teacher calling out numbers and words, Edson heard an announcer calling the game. With just seconds left, Edson takes the ball, past one defender and then another, and he's all alone, only the goalie between him and the goal. Edson, 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 the fans shout. But Edson stays focused. He bears down. He drives a kick to the right. The ball hits the goalpost, spins back, and fouls through the goalie's hands straight into Edson do Nascimento. How many times must I call you? His teacher leaned in closer. Now you'll have to learn the hard way. Move. Edson walked past his classmates' desk, past their snickers and whispers to a corner where he knelt and waited. The final school bell would ring soon, and he could go home and practice. In Edson's backyard, a torn, dirty net hung in the shade of a mango tree. A group of boys huddled there, struggling to find a team name. Suggestions were made and shot down, but then one name was shouted out, and everyone knew it was perfect. September 7th it would be, after Brazil's National Day of Independence. Each afternoon, the team practiced in Edson's backyard or along potholed roads and dirt-packed fields, kicking up clouds of dust, so thick the players could barely see the ball. As daylight faded, mothers' voices called boys home one by one. Sergenio, Nilo, Shode, Luciano, Dino, Valdo, Edson. See you tomorrow, Edson would shout as he grabbed his ball, a sock stuffed with rags, rolled up and tied with string. Then he'd head home, tired and happy. Edson lived with his parents, Donito and Dona Celeste, his grandma, and his younger brother and sister. Don Dinho had once been a fine soccer player, but a knee injury had destroyed his dream of playing for a pro team. After supper and into the night, he and Edson would listen to matches on the radio, straining to hear the announcers through the static. Going up, across, two, beautiful kick, goal. Dona Celeste stayed away, fussing about the two of them wasting their time. When Edson finally went to bed, he closed his eyes. Then fast forward to all the plays he'd try and practice the next day. If I pass it to Nilo, then fake left pass Shode. Nilo can kick a high pass to me, and I'll head it into the goal. Too late, he'd fall asleep, still clutching his ball of sock and string. On the way to school every morning, Edson liked to kick one rock, then another, until he was kicking rocks from side to side, dribbling around people's feet and into potholes. Score! When the morning bell rang, his thoughts were so focused on perfecting his plays that he rarely even heard it. School only got worse. Edson's teachers dreamed of punishments they thought would make him pay attention in school. For talking in class, his mouth was stuffed with paper? What? For fooling around at the desk, he was made to kneel on beans? Can you imagine? Although his parents warned him to behave and punished him when he did it, Edson soon decided it was easier to skip school altogether and play soccer. Now, boys and girls, do you think that was a good idea? Around town, September 7th became known as the shoeless ones, a pretty good team of boys who kicked around a ball of rags and were too poor, unfortunately, to afford shoes. What about uniforms? Zé Porto, a defender on the team, wondered one day. Yeah, and shoes too, everyone agreed, thinking maybe a new look would change their image. The boys put their heads together and came up with a plan. They would enter a contest, shine shoes, sell peanuts. Soon they earned enough to buy shirts, socks, and shorts made from flour sacks. But they still didn't have enough for shoes. For Edson and his team, playing the game was all that mattered. They challenged everyone to take them on, even the locals who streamed out of the factory at the end of their shifts had stopped to watch the boys practice. It wasn't long before older players who had once turned Edson and his friends down were playing against them, and barefoot, the shoeless ones were winning. It started one day during practice. Someone called him Pele, then someone else, until the entire team was doing it. At first, Edson thought they were calling him the name of legendary soccer star Pele. He didn't like it at first. But after weeks of hearing Pele, Pele, Edson weakened. Maybe a nickname was a good idea, something fans and announcers could cut short, could shout out instead of his name, Edson Arantes do Nascimento. It was too long, and anyway, all the best soccer players had nicknames. Why not Pele, whatever it meant? The shoeless ones had been together for nearly 4 years now when Senor Nicola Avolone Jr., the town's mayor, announced he was sponsoring a youth soccer tournament for neighborhood teams who had uniforms and soccer shoes. Now they needed shoes or they could not compete. Zelite, a struggling salesman and the father of 3 of the players, offered his help, and the team gratefully accepted. Not only did he find them shoes, he agreed to be their new coach. If you train properly and follow my orders, Zelete instructed, you can win the tournament. And so almost overnight, the shoeless ones disappeared and a new team was born with a new coach and a new name, Americana, Little America. Using his sales skills, Zelete got hold of a collection of badly worn soccer shoes, donations from another local team. Pe de pobre neo tem, tamanho, he shouted in their native Portuguese as the boys dived for the shoes. The foot of the poor man doesn't have a size. Now instead of focusing on their feet, the team could concentrate on the game, though playing with shoes took some getting used to. Between regular practices, 12-year-old Pele and his teammates worked on drills Zelete designed. Leaping, dribbling, heading, trapping, dribbling again, so much so fast they could do without even thinking. Pele became the unofficial captain because he owned the ball. And he remained the captain because of all the knowledge he had from talking soccer, listening to soccer, watching and playing soccer with his father. Edson, you only know how to use your right foot, Dondinho would warn. A good player uses each foot equally. And remember, middle of the forehead, eyes open, mouth shut. That's it. He'd shout as Pele headed the ball. All right, now back to the feet. Left foot, right foot, like that. That's better. Again. When they returned home, Dona Celeste was always waiting in the doorway, shaking her head. Donito, don't come complaining to me, but what? Me when he wants to be a soccer player instead of a doctor. But Donito would simply laugh. Celeste, if he doesn't learn to use his left foot, you have nothing to worry about. Pele's skills were growing faster than his body. By now, his teammates were heads taller than Pele. But it was Pele who could play center forward, defense, even goalie. Other teams noticed how quickly he dribbled, always with an eye for a pass. Goal! Fans would shout when Pele scored, usually in a tight corner of the goal or after a quick fake. In a game where one goal is often all that's scored, Pele could score 3 alone. Other teams with better uniforms, coaches, and free fields tried to convince him to play for them, but Pele stayed loyal to Americana, Little America, his new team. When Americana turns came to play in the youth soccer tournament, the team knew it had one advantage over all the others. Its players could work together. On the day of their game, the Baru Athletic Club Stadium was packed with 5,000 fans. Standing on the lush green grass, Pele forgot all about his father watching in the stands and his mother worrying at home over his future. Left foot, right foot, he said to himself, over and over again. Left foot, right foot. By the time the whistle blew, he was focused only on the goal. The first goal was scored by the opposing team, but Americana stayed cool, playing as one, reading each other's signals as if the team spoke its own secret language and scored. Again, each team scored, and then Americana caught fire, driving downfield with incredible speed. One quick pass from the right, and with just seconds left, Pele takes the ball, past one defender and then another, and now he's all alone, only the goalie between him and the goal. You see? The goalie, and there he is. What do you think is going to happen, boys and girls? Can you predict? Pele, 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 the fans shouted. But Pele stays focused. He bears down. He drives a kick to the right. The ball hits the goalpost, spins back, and flies through the goalie's hands straight into goal! Pele, Pele! The crowd chanted, and Edson realized for the first time since he's heard it that the name Pele, when echoing in harmony through a stadium, sounded like music. As he and his father headed home, Pele was followed by the sound of his fans shouting, "Congratulations, Pele!" But when he saw Dona Celeste poised in the doorway, shaking her head, his steps slowed. Then his mother moved toward him, pulled him up to her, and hugged. "Congratulations, my son," she whispered. Author's note. Born on October 23rd, 1940, Pele would grow up to become the greatest player of soccer, or football as it is called in countries around outside the United States, the world has ever known. Though the origin of the name Pele is unknown, some believe it derives from the word pé, meaning foot in Portuguese, which is often yelled in frustration by players when the soccer ball is mistakenly touched by the hand. Still others believe the name was given as a tribute to the soccer star Pele. Over the course of his career, Pele had many nicknames. In Italy, he was called Il Re, the King in France, La Tulipe Noir, the Black Tulip, and in Brazil, Perola Negra, the Black Pearl. In 1958, at 17 years old, he was the youngest player in history to compete in a World Cup championship, and he led his team to victory over Sweden and to Brazil's first World Cup. At 21, he led his team to another World Cup championship, and he did it again at 29. In all, he played 1,363 games, scoring an incredible 1,281 goals. Brazil's famous number 10 brought grace and excitement. What a nice story. Young Pele, soccer's first star.